Good evening and welcome to the show. I'm Peter and this program is coming to you live from the beautiful Green Mountains of Vermont, as you can plainly see in the background. I'll be singing and playing a variety of songs tonight. It's been said that every picture tells a story. Likewise, every song has a story connected with it, and we'll be exploring a few of those this evening as well. Here's one of my favorites. The tune I just played, written in 1939, will be recognizable to many. It's called Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and it was sung by Judy Garland in the film The Wizard of Oz, a story that is familiar to multiple generations. Now, I think there are many music fans today who might not care for a song like this. In an era when popular song lyrics are slick, snarky, rife with the F word, and tell stories of breakup, divorce, loneliness, and alienation, The bluebirds and rainbows in this song's lyrics might seem to some corny and anachronistic. It's interesting to note, however, that the music and lyrics were written by two different guys. In those days, it was typical for a songwriting duo to consist of a composer and a lyricist. The music guy didn't mess with the words, and the word guy didn't need to have any musical talent at all. It was a different kind of songwriting partnership from, say, Lennon and McCartney. While the credits always included both names, most of the Beatles songs were primarily written by one or the other, words and music included, and they complete and polish the song together. So there's a story about Rodgers and Hammerstein, the composer-lyricist partners, who wrote a ton of hit songs from the Broadway musicals. Now, Mr. Rodgers wrote the music, Mr. Hammerstein wrote the words. So someone in a social situation, in a conversation with Mrs. Hammerstein, referred to Mr. Rodgers as having written the song Some Enchanted Evening. Now that's the lead song from the musical South Pacific, and it sounds a little like... So someone said about Mr. Rodgers' song, and she said, Mr. Rodgers didn't write Some Enchanted Evening. And people are looking at her like, what? She said, no. My husband wrote Some Enchanted Evening. Mr. Rodgers wrote, da-da-da-da-da-da. She had a point. So sometimes I wonder what the composers might have thought about some of the lyricists' lyrics. Did they like them all? Probably not, but best for the relationship, not to mention business, to keep mum about it. But perhaps in an unguarded, candid type moment, if I were to ask the composer about his Rainbows and Bluebirds song, might he say, hell, I wrote that. Do you see any rainbows? Do you hear any bluebirds? My tune's got nothing to do with no damn birds. They just stuck those words to my melody. Oh well, it was a big hit, and it did make us rich. So I guess I'm not complaining. Piano players like myself who do renditions of this type of song, known to some as the standards, bypass this issue entirely. Like the composer, my version of Over the Rainbow has nothing to do with birds or wizards. It's in the repertoire because it has a memorable melody set to an interesting and satisfying chord progression, which lends itself nicely to a bit of improvisation. It's a classic piece of music that stands on its own without the cultural attachments. Which brings us to mind, before we get to the next song, a tune that represents this just huge discrepancy between the cultural context of a song when it was written and the culture of the musician who popularized an instrumental performance of that tune. I'm talking about the song My Favorite Things from the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, The Sound of Music. An instrumental version of which was released in 1961 by the legendary saxophonist John Coltrane. It's pretty wild, and I wonder what Mr. Rodgers thought of Train's version of his tune. One thing's for sure though, and that's that Coltrane was not inspired to do that number because of Maria the Governess singing to children about brown paper packages tied up with strings. Rather, he was intrigued by the melody and the chord changes and the possibilities of what became 13 minutes of wild improvisation over those changes. So this next tune is from way back. It was a big hit in 1940. The lyrics are fairly forgettable, but it has a kind of hauntingly beautiful melody, though to my ear it needed a bit of improvement. There are some interesting and satisfying chord changes that the composer actually, in my humble opinion, left out. Like, call that a turnaround. I thought that belonged in the third measure. so I put it there. And addition of a few other chords that sound to me like they belong there gives the tune a more interesting structure. Anyway, this one is called Blueberry Hill. And now we're going to take a brief break while I head over to the keyboard studio for some more music. Okay, now this is where the plot thickens. 16 years after Blueberry Hill was released, in 1956, the music on the radio was just getting interesting. Though I was just a wee lad at the time, I yearned like millions of others, for liberation from the terminal blandness that was early 1950s radio. And rock and roll was coming to the rescue. In 1956, the immortal Fats Domino had a #1 hit with his version of Blueberry Hill. Now, this actually caused an argument between me and my parents. I had been taking piano lessons for just a few months when I discovered that I could play by ear or memory the tunes that I heard on the radio. Now, I was learning Blueberry Hill and just kind of messing with it, working out the melody and a rudimentary accompaniment in the left hand, when my father, who was a talented amateur pianist himself, comes up to me and says, "That's not how that goes." So I'm like, "What's not how what goes?" He says, "Right at the beginning of the verse, those very first few notes, you're adding an extra note that isn't there." Now, I had never heard the original version of this tune, and I was completely unaware of the fact that in 1956, Blueberry Hill was already an oldie, which Fats was covering as an R&B rock and roll type version, which incidentally most of the grown-ups hated. Fats, of course, infinitely improved that song, and he sang the melody in a bluesy, soulful style, complete with the appropriate vocal embellishments. And the so-called extra note comes from Fats' style of singing. Now, the original crooner's version of the tune sounds a little like, "I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill," whereas Fats sang, "I found my thrill." That little thing is called the vocal embellishment. And that is what gives rise to the extra note. Now, I didn't understand any of that at the time. Neither did the dad. I heard that note and I played it. Now, my parents didn't have the record on hand, and we couldn't very well go and dial it up on YouTube because YouTube was not to be invented for another 40 years or so. The folks didn't know what the blues was, nor did they know what vocal embellishments were. So they couldn't explain to me why Fats' version wasn't cool, and I couldn't explain to them why it was. Anyway, here is my version of Fats Domino's version of Blueberry Hill. I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill, on Blueberry Hill, when I found you. The moon stood still on Blueberry Hill. It lingered until my dream came true. The wind in the willows played love's sweet melody, but all of those vows you made were never to be. Though we're apart, you're part of me still. For you were my thrill on Blueberry Hill. The wind in the willows played loud This next song, said to be the first rock and roll ballad ever, released in late 1954. Less often acknowledged, however, is that the group that recorded it was one of the first groups to name themselves after an animal. Long before the Beatles, before the Byrds, the Turtles, the Animals, before the Eagles, the Monkees, or Iron Butterfly, long before Fish, or even Toad the Wet Sprocket, came the Penguins. This is their eternal classic hit from long ago, Earth Angel. Earth Angel. You know, this is live TV, this is live internet, and I'm starting this song in the wrong key, so I'm just going to come out and say it, and I'm going to start it again in the correct key. Here we go. Earth angel, please be mine, my darling dear, love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Earth angel, the one I adore, love you forever and evermore. I'm just a fool in love with you. I fell for you, and I knew the vision of your loveliness. I'll hope and I'll pray that someday I'll be the vision of your happiness. Oh, 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 Earth angel, please be mine, my darling dear, love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you. I fell for you, and I knew the vision of your loveliness. I'll hope and pray that someday that I'll be the vision of your happiness. Oh, 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 Earth angel, will you be mine, my darling dear, love you all the time. I'm just a fool in love with you. Now this next tune, well, I couldn't stand this one when it first came out on the radio. It had this super fast, exaggerated, bubblegum rock and roll kind of beat. And then this guy comes on singing nonsense lyrics in this high, piercing falsetto. I'll spare you the demonstration, but I couldn't stand that song, and every time it came on the radio, I turned the volume down, patiently waited for it to be done. Soon, that song left the charts, and I never gave it a second thought. Until years later, the inimitable James Taylor brought it back as a tuneful ballad. Still has the same silly words, but slowing it down, taking time to tease out a proper melody, makes all the difference. This is called Handyman.
Girls, gather round, listen to what I'm putting down. Baby, I'm your handyman. I'm not the kind to use a pencil or rule. I'm handy with love and I'm no fool. I fix broken hearts, I know that I truly can. If your broken heart should need repair, I am the man to see. I'll whisper sweet things, you'll tell all your friends, they'll come running to me. Here is the main thing that I want to say. I'm busy 24 hours a day. I fix broken hearts, I know that I truly can. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. They'll come running to me. Here is the main thing that I want to say. I'm busy 24 hours a day. I fix broken hearts, I know that I truly can. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, 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 yeah.
When I was very small, my father worked for a company that made radios and phonographs, and he got to take home samples. Each time the company would give him a new model, my brother and I would take turns inheriting the latest hand-me-down phonograph. So I always had a real record player, not a kiddie phono. Now I recall being upset and feeling most indignant on behalf of my friend from down the street. The first time she showed me her record player, it played only 78s. It had no amp or speaker. The tone arm was huge. It weighed a ton. It had a needle the size of a railroad spike, and it made a horrible scratching sound when it hit the spinning record. The arm had a kind of mechanical transducer attached that the sound came from. It was scratchy, tinny. It had, of course, no sounds in the bass range. It was basically an inferior version of the gramophone, which by that time was already considered an antique collector's item. I always hated those children's phonos which ruined the records in short order.
I felt bad for the kids who had them, and I felt fortunate to have the real thing. I also disliked children's records. The songs they sang were silly, and any narration was a grown-up talking to us kids the way grown-ups tended to do in those days, like we were slow-witted imbeciles or furry pets. Now on the radio, there was a program called the Hit Parade. When I was still learning to talk, I had heard somebody call out, "Hip hip hooray," at a celebration, and I thought that the program playing all the latest records on the radio was called the Hip Hooray. Now, the older kids' considerable enthusiasm and religiously observed listening habits made that seem reasonable. But I soon learned what a hit was. The first hit I really loved was this thing called Mockingbird Hill. I listened to that song repeatedly, with its rising and falling arpeggios, especially liking the lyric that went, "There's peace and goodwill. You're welcome as the flowers on Mockingbird Hill." When I was like 4 years old, that melody totally captivated me. So from the earliest days, I've always been a sucker for a catchy tune. Now, when I write a song, it's a solo operation. I write both the words and music. This next song came about when I was trying to get some plant cuttings to root. And some of them would, and some of them wouldn't. I couldn't figure it out. And so once the phrase occurred to me, well, when they root, they root. When they don't, they die. So the lyrics of this song, it's not about anything real heavy, just, life and death, growth and decay, the arrogance of the modern industrial mindset, and the eternal quest to answer the unanswerable. Regular, everyday stuff like that. This song is called Why, Why, Why. It goes like this.
When they root, they root. When they don't, they die. No one knows the truth. They just pretend to know the reasons why. Why, if it grows, it grows. And if it don't, it dies. No one really knows. They just pretend to know the reasons why. Why, 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 why? When they grow, they grow. When they don't, they die. They never really know, but they ask each other, why, all that grows must die. When it dies, something else grows. They're always asking why, but no one ever really knows. No, 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 no. What do they think they are? Is it gods or something? Yeah, say what do they know? And if they really knew what they think they do, yeah, said it would show, it would show, it would show. When they root, they root. When they don't, they die. They never seek the truth. They never stop that. Why, all that grows must die. When it dies, something else grows. They're always asking why, but no one ever really knows. No, 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 no. root, they root. When they don't, they die. They never seek the truth, and they never stop that. Why, all that grows must die. When it dies, something else grows. They're always asking why, but no one ever really knows. No, 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 no. They never know. They never know. No, 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 no. They never know.
Okay, we're going to take another brief break. Going to head over to the piano lounge, play some more piano music. And we're live. Are we live?
Yes.
Okay. Here's a few tunes that I wrote for the piano. This first one is called Swing in G. The second one is a ballad that I call Somewhere in the Night. And the third is a kind of a ragtime kind of thing called Beans and Bacon. Okay.
Thank you. I hear the applause coming from somewhere. There it is. Okay, now we're going to take another brief break while I head back to the keyboard studio. Okay, here we are back in the keyboard studio. It looks like we have time for one more song.
And here we go. Summers are usually unusually beautiful here in Vermont. I have a couple of acres of land here. I do lots of gardening in the season, growing vegetables and flowers. One bright summer's day, a while back, I was standing in the tomato patch, and the ripe fruits on the vine were so brightly and intensely colored that they looked absolutely fluorescent, like day glow. The sky was bright blue, the air was clear, a gentle breeze was blowing, and yet I was faintly troubled. I couldn't stop thinking about some annoying letters I had received that morning. One was an unexpected bill, the other a demand for past due payment. You know, that sort of thing. And as I stood there, staring at a flaming red tomato on a vibrant green vine against the electric blue sky, my whole being was filled with a vibration. I felt very much alive. And a thought came to me that this out here in the garden, this is life. The financial stuff, it's just numbers on a piece of paper. Then from somewhere, a bit of melody, a riff, if you will, started to repeat in my brain. And I put the words to it, and I was singing, "It's just numbers on a piece of paper." Somehow, it was comforting to sing that to myself. But it kept percolating around in my brain. It never went away, and I had to start paying attention to it. Writing a song is not entirely a deliberate act. Sometimes it's more like the song wants to be written, so it nags at you till you do something about it. Eventually, I completed and recorded a multi-track version of it, which I put up on my YouTube channel. It's called "Should I Cry?" It goes like this.
Got a letter in the mail today. I hate to tell you what it had to say. You're in arrears and you are so delinquent too. We don't know what we're gonna do with you. Get this kinda sinking feeling, but then remember, it's been like this since I don't know when, and it's just numbers on a piece of paper. Why should I cry? Why should I sigh? Let's go jump off some tall skyscraper, or should I just take my own sweet time? Makes me wonder what I'd do it for. Nobody talks about the rat race anymore. I reason and I ask myself, now why is that? Guess you don't know you're in a race when you're the rat. Chase the dollar just as hard as I can. Don't see where it adds up to the worth of a man, 'cause it's just numbers on a piece of paper. Why should I cry? Why should I sigh? Must I go jump off some tall skyscraper, or should I just take my own sweet time? message on my phone today. Already knew what it was gonna say. You're broke and you ain't got no credit anywhere. I texted back, do I look like I care? Start to panic just a little, but then remind myself to remind myself again that it's just numbers on a piece of paper. Why should I cry? Why should I sigh? Was a go jump off some tall skyscraper? Should I just take my own sweet time? Numbers and paper. Should I cry? Should I sigh? What if I lost that piece of paper? Would I just take my own sweet time?
And so, we conclude this first broadcast of my show. Let me know in the comments how I did. There will be a new episode each week at this time. Each one will feature a few more of my original compositions, as well as selected covers and the stories that go with them. The episodes will be rebroadcast on this channel, so if you missed anything, or want to hear the music again, or wish to recommend it to a friend, there will be ample opportunity. Likes and comments and subscriptions are always appreciated.
We've got some nice comments right now. Louis Soloff says, "This is great. My wife is watching with me. It brings back memories."
Lou Soloff, thanks for your comments. That's great, thank you.
He says, "Exceptional piano player."
Oh, thank you, Viddy. Thank you for your comments. Okay.
And I said, one of my favorites. Should I cry?
My son Joel says that. Should I Cry is one of his favorites. Okay, great. Thank you for the comments. So until next week, same time, same station, different songs and different stories. It's been real. Thank you and good night.